Thank you. You know, it's a real honor to be here. All the speakers have been wonderful, so I'll do the best I can. You know, I've been thinking about what I'm going to say. I really don't have a prepared speech, and George invited us to be here just about 2 months ago. You know, I was thinking, what is Memorial Day? I remember when I was a little kid up in New York on Long Island, Memorial Day kicked off the summer. Not like here, where the weather's been nice for a long time. Up north, it was a really big deal, and we used to go and have boat parades. And I remember my dad and all the other former service members having the ceremonies around the flag, but it really didn't mean anything to me. I really didn't understand it. And I think with, you know, as Americans, not the folks in this room, but those just caught up in life, we are so blessed because we live in freedom, because we have the internet, because we have the freedom to go and do what we want. We're all caught up in our own world, and we don't realize how lucky we really have it. Well, I got involved in the military back in, actually, during the Iranian crisis. That's what got me involved and got me to feel like I needed to join the military. And when you look back at 1979 and the situation and why the Iranian crisis started, things are not much different now. Fast forward to 9/11, my brother's a policeman in New York City, and I've heard all the horrific stories of what the firemen and the police and all the residents and all the poor people in those buildings went through. Again, Americans go on their way because it's our volunteer force that launches out into the world to take care of these problems. It's not like older conflicts where we had the whole world involved, the whole country involved in World War II. It's a little different now, but it's no less important. Last Wednesday I was at Central Command with General Horst, who gave a briefing to 15 of us on a little tour of CENTCOM. It was wonderful. But behind us in this briefing room were these enormous maps of the Middle East and all the countries and area of operations. And we talked about a lot of things. And we talked about the forces deployed here and the forces deployed there. And you folks here, you're keyed in, you understand what's going on, but most of Americans don't because they're busy, not that they don't care. So no matter what we do here, we as Americans in this room need to do every day what they do every day, and that is let people know how awesome this country is and how awesome the forces overseas and locally, our first responders, and how important they are to our way of life. When we formed Sand Soldiers of America, it was really formed 4 years ago in Pasco. It started in Pasco County. It spread to Hernando and Pinellas County. And the driving force behind it was Sheriff Bob White, the former sheriff of Pasco. And at the time, he was in charge of the Florida Association of Sheriffs. So there's 67 counties in Florida. He was up there representing, as the president of that organization at the time, the sheriff's departments throughout the state. And one of the common denominators all the sheriff's departments saw was all the folks coming back, because how many first responders are former military? We know the incidence is high. So we saw people in the reserves and the National Guard coming back to these police departments, to these sheriff's departments across the state injured, and they were talking about, what are we going to do? How can we help these folks? The psychological issues that's been touched upon. That coupled with Vietnam veterans who came to us and said, you know, we're seeing these veterans come to the VFW and they really don't fit in. They might be 24 years old, they have iPods, and they listen to Metallica. They don't fit in with the VFW folks. No disrespect, they're different people. So they would quickly never show up again. So those folks, the Vietnam vets across the area, were saying, you know, we need to help these kids. They're not assimilating in our group, just like every war and us before them. We need to do something to help them. So those two groups, those very two diverse groups, the sheriff and the Vietnam vets, got together with some local businesses, including myself, and a vet, many others, and Sand Soldiers of America formed. And we spent 4 months really trying to figure out what the heck our mission statement was even going to be. I remember sitting around the table saying, well, we can't help seriously disabled vets. We don't have the money for that. And lo and behold, a couple of months later, we touched base with an orthopedic group that was assisting the VA and doing tremendous surgeries on veterans. We thought, you know, we can't help veterans with housing. And then lo and behold, we bumped into a large real estate company that provided free apartments to, well, any number of veterans at any given time. So we started doing that. Little by little, we realized there were all kinds of organizations out there to help veterans, but very few of them talked to one another. So Sand Soldiers of America began to morph into an organization that not only honored and recognized the veterans through parades, ceremonies, concerts, events like this, but we started to network and direct the veterans to these various groups through the contacts that we've made. And it shows that a few people, at the time, 5 to 10 people, could help a great many people. Little by little, Sand Soldiers of America's mission statement morphed. And it became, really, as the vet likes to say, the organization that handles those issues that fall through the cracks that the other organizations can't help. And I got to give you some examples so that you are all inspired to help us in the future, help them. Because little things do matter. For example, some of the things Sand Soldiers have done. We may buy a bicycle for a veteran that can't afford a car. We may purchase a bed, a comfortable bed for an amputee who maybe lives in a hotel on the outskirts of Walter Reed Hospital. Not all our veterans that get therapy there are in the hospital itself. And we had one veteran just say, you know, I'd like a comfy bed. I don't have any legs, and I'm missing an arm, and I don't like sleeping on the bed at Motel 6. So we purchase a bed, or have somebody else purchase a bed. We've provided gas cards for veterans. And I'm not saying this to pat ourselves on the back. I'm really not. What I want you all to realize is, as we move forward, because all the speakers here have focused on, and we need to, remember those that have fallen. But we've got an enormous issue moving forward. The Afghanistan war is, in fact, winding down. Politically, they've decided we're done. So in roughly a year or two, we're going to be withdrawing most of our forces. Iraq, as you know, we've wound down that situation. But just as General Horst was indicating, the threats and the problems facing our military are profound. And hundreds of thousands of our veterans have circulated through the CENTCOM arena alone. And hundreds of thousands of those folks are back here in the United States now. Some of them are doing wonderful. Most are. Some of them can't find jobs. Some of them have psychological problems that need to be addressed. We know that, but we can never forget, because it's my job. I feel committed to it. And I can tell you there's nothing I do in my life that is more satisfying than helping these veterans that have done so much to allow us to party and have fun. I can tell you that it's really not hard work, because the people that I've met along the way, and Yvette and I have met, and the stories we've heard even from George about his brother, who you're going to hear from, it makes me cry. It makes me cry. And I think back to when I was a dumb little kid, you know, standing around the flag with my dad. It was just a party. Most Americans are in the mindset that this is all taken for granted. We need to educate them on a daily basis. We need to honor our veterans and our first responders. And I want you to remember, you know, our military is the most badass in the world. The equipment, the jets, the bombs, and all that, we know that's second to none. But if all you have to do is flip on the military channel and just watch the Battle of Fallujah, and you realize at the end of the day, all the smart bombs and all the cruise missiles don't mean jack when you got Marines and Army troops going door to door, building by building, just like they did in the old days, getting their knees blown off, getting blinded, helping us as Americans project our power throughout the world to keep us safe. If you don't ever remember that, just turn on the military channel, because it's real. It's going on right now, somewhere in the world. So let's, from this day forward, always respect our veterans. Let's continue to honor them, and let's keep the level of patriotism in this country so high